So I was out on trail last week, this gorgeous alpine lake, right? The wildflowers are popping, the lake is just pristine and quiet, and it was an awesome, tranquil day. And when I got back down to the trailhead, God, then I started getting this buzzing irritation. This irritation was me eavesdropping on a conversation that I was hearing, a pretty heated conversation between two what looked like veteran hikers at the trailhead getting ready to head out on their trail. And this conversation was a debate around the principles and practices of leave no trace. And God, it just got my gut turning, got me irritated. I had to take a breath and remind myself that I needed to mind my own business. But that got me thinking, hasn't this debate of leave no trace been going on for decades? It has been as long as I know. Right? Anytime we started venturing out into the forest in any significant numbers, that's when the conversation came up. And I think we can all agree in, the principles of leave no trace, right? The general idea is minimize your impact, preserve this amazing place for future generations. But let's be honest, the application, that's where it gets a little trickier, because it's not as simple as we like to believe it is. Just what I'm doing right now on this designated trail is indeed leaving an impact. So the part of the community that believes that leave no trace means leave zero impact, sorry to tell you, friends, you're setting yourselves up for failure, because it is impossible to leave zero impact. Just your sheer presence of being there is an impact. Now, if you're okay with minimizing your impact, I think we can all agree on that one. I do want to dig into, though, the application piece, because there's a lot of things that are just getting trickier and trickier to put into general practical application without having some kind of a crazy backlash. Look, I've been hiking in these forests for the better part of 40 years. And through that time, I've seen the evolution of backpacking, camping, and hiking gear, and the massive flood of popularity when it comes to just outdoor activities. Right? Think back to when the world got shut down during COVID, and then finally we were all told it was safe to go outside. Well, the world fled to the mountains, and in massive droves that we had never seen before. Our parks were flooded, our national forests were just completely overloaded and beyond capacity, and unfortunately, the trash started to pile up, the damage started to happen, and with that, the almost zealotry behind the leave no trace crowd just exploded. And with that, the debate has gotten more and more severe, and people have gotten more and more extreme in their beliefs. It's almost like we've become a whole bunch of self-appointed nature police. We're, a bunch of Karens running around with our backpacks, scolding each other on how we need to do better, but at the same time, yeah, we might be taking some of our own shortcuts that we hope nobody notices. So let's take the whole pack it in, pack it out thing, right? And I'm talking about your waste, pack it in, pack it out. There's one group of leave no trace folks that believe that you should pack out all human waste. And then there's also the practical application, right? So if you're in a highly populated, densely traveled area, yep, I agree with it. Pack it in, pack it out, leave no trace. Get rid of your waste. Use facilities wherever possible, pack it out if you have to. But what about if you're in the backcountry, you're out there for a multi-day hike, and there's nobody else around, and it's just you? Do you really want to pack your human waste around with you for 5 days? That way you can dispose of it when you get back to a trailhead? I mean, let's be honest, that is practically impossible for everyone. And if you're doing that, more power to you. I don't want to know about it. I'm never going to ask to borrow your backpack. But we also know that if you have a well-placed cat hole dug to the proper depths in the proper location, and you bury everything according to the right rules and regulations, then who's to say that that isn't just fine? And that's what I mean by trying to find a balance between the zealotry of pack it in, pack it out, leave no trace, and the practical application of everyday hiking. There has to be a balance. Look, I've heard the arguments, I respect the opinions, I've even seen the science behind it. But if you want to try and tell me that a well-placed cat hole is on par with some kind of a massive environmental catastrophe or is just as harmful to the environment as clear cutting a forest, I'm going to tell you you're a crazy person and there's no other explanation. Now, I'm not advocating for throwing out leave no trace. What I am advocating for is ensuring that you still have some common sense when you're dealing with it. To continue on my rant, let's talk about the policing, right? Try posting one picture of your campsite on social media, and if your tent is just a couple of inches off of the previously impacted area, my God, the comments go nuts on social media. The people just completely shame you on what a terrible human being you are and how you're destroying the environment. And it makes me almost wonder, is there true purpose to try and help protect the environment? Or is it just more about virtue signaling in the first place? I mean, we were all newbies at one point in time, right? And even your seasoned veterans are going to make mistakes from time to time. Nobody's perfect, but what we do need to do is try and understand that it's our job to help educate in a positive, supportive manner, not in a shaming and personal scorn. Last thing we want to do is scare new hikers to the point that they're not willing to ask questions that they should be, right? Because if you don't ask questions, you're not going to learn. And if you don't learn, you're going to continue to piss off this nature police. And then there's also the context, right? A pristine alpine meadow is going to be completely different than a well-traveled trail like what I'm on today, right? Here you can jump around, hop and do skipping, jumping jacks, and your impact is minimal. In an alpine meadow, you've got to be far more delicate with where you're walking and what you're doing. So we need to have that understanding behind leave no trace and learn to come to accept the fact that it is a guiding principle and not a hard, fast rule. Again, I'm not saying we should throw out leave no trace. I mean, the complete opposite. It is absolutely crucial to the survival of our forests and our natural areas. But what I am saying is maybe we need a little bit more understanding, a little bit more conversation, a little more nuance, and maybe a little less dogma. But I'm more curious from you veteran hikers out there. How do you guys feel about it? How do you deal with these principles that are becoming more and more stringent and strict with the hiking community? How have you added it into your lives, and how do you educate the newer generation out there on the trail without trying to alienate or offend anybody? It's very much a delicate balance, and I'm finding I am far more on the side of education, less policing, but educating in a positive, reassuring manner. I am going to get off my soapbox and back out onto the trail. But again, I am very curious what you folks think about it. Let me know in the comments below. And until next time, hope to see you out on the trail soon. Let's go for a walk.